Hello and welcome to this video of making brushes for Backdrop Designer using Photopea or Photoshop or whatever you use. So this is an example that I've made using Procreate, in fact, and the way I've made these brushes is to make the base blue and then turn the brush to additive and add green and add red, and what you'll get is this layered system. If you look at each channel, you'll see the blue channel is solid, then green these additional parts that are optional and they won't interfere with the base color there. I just noticed a little defect of blue in there, so you can always go into each channel and paint black and white, which I'm going to do here just to get rid of a few little artifacts. I think that was the only bit. So you can see each channel does different things and they can be good for changing the color or adding a highlight, but you can choose not to have these in Backdrop Designer, as you'll see in a second. So I've made a few different layers and they've all got a black background. So once I export these, I can grab them as brushes inside the software itself, just as long as I've got a nice rectangular space around each, which I do have. Just make sure I can draw a rectangle around each of those. And some of these brushes were made with other brushes that I downloaded from various marketplaces to construct these ones. So we'll see how this works in a second. So I'm just going to basically export each image. So I'll save as, let's just name this as 1 and export as a PNG, and 2K is fine. Well, that's the texture size that I used. Do the same here and rename that as 2. It says PSD up here, but really when you export, you should export as a PNG. That'll work just fine. And this one, I might actually duplicate this layer just to get these colors a bit more pronounced, and I'll just merge these together. Okay, let's call that 3. So the colors look ugly right now, but when you bring them into Backdrop Designer, these colors can be swapped out, and that's the main thing I want to show you, is how to use that to effect. And that's 4, so let's just export that one. And the last one. Okay, let's name that 5. Cool, so I'm just going to open up Backdrop Designer now. And in each user category, you can place different things here. I'm just going to go up to clear custom files so that I've got basically all of those free. And I'm just going to load in one of the images. So I'll go to my downloads, download number 1. And now you can see this big image here. So what I want to do is just plot that down to start with. So I'll just click this. It's down the bottom here as a little square, and that just plots that down like so. And then I want to use the grabber and grab one of these, and I call this like new branch. I need to use a name that doesn't exist. So new branch 1. So now I've got this new branch. What I can do is I take away the black tones and I'm left with just this little branch itself. And if I change the slider to the right, it starts to replace the R, G and B with the new colors, like that. You might also want to use a little bit of cutout or blur to get rid of some of the edges. Right, if you're not too sure about using the black background because of the edge being shown a bit through this, look at the sides of this brush, you can kind of see darker pixels, and that's because it's still picking up some of that black tone there. right? If you're not sure about that, what you can do is when you export, just don't export with the black. So let's just give that a check, see if it's the case. So change that back to 1. Let's try PNG. Okay, and then I'm going to load that in here. And make sure I just reset everything. Got that amount. Oh yeah, that didn't actually give me anything because I didn't have that enabled. Let's just do that again. Okay, 1 bracket 2. I can right click and I can clear that brush as well. So this time, open that. I'm going to do Control Backspace to clear everything. This is a bit better anyway, so I'm just going to leave it at full size and just come to a point where I can plot this down, and then I'm going to grab that one, call it new branch underscore 1. It's a different name from the other one, and let's take away, so now there's no black tone to take away, it's only really blue, red and green that matter. Think of black as transparent or a new base colour. So I could potentially have 4 colours for this. If I take away, here we go, so I've got the base colour working there, and then blue coming in, and then red where there was, or pink where there was red tones. And see if I can change that to be blue, little blue marks, and then yellow where there was green tones, which are very subtle. You can see it change up here. Right, and a cool thing you can do is you can lock any one of these. So you can lock the blacks or whatever. If I don't lock black, then it starts to sort of fade a bit. If I put all these down, then the whole thing is going to be kind of transparent. So you kind of want to lock it to some level. Right, and then everything else you can say random amount. And you'll get random amounts of these colours. Right, if you do auto random, every time you press, you're going to get some random stuff. So you might want that base colour to be kind of a consistent brown or something, and then you can randomise those tones. And then obviously you can change what actual tones you want to go to here. You might not want them to be too different. Right, and then it's going to clear everything, and you can do like random flipping, some size range, some rotational range, and that's you going to have lots of variation from that one brush. You can also do color range, which starts to bring in even more color, and generally just shifts the hue. Okay, so that's that one brush grab. So I'm just going to go back to this one, reset the color back so that we get our primaries, and to reset the scale you can basically right click on any one of these little scale parts down here. Okay, so that's that. Just make sure you turn off the rotation and size range and any flipping, and that way you can kind of do more. Now it's a good idea just to plot that down and then start grabbing each one, give it a name, so I'll call it new branch underscore 2. Just carry on doing that. New branch, let's just copy that because we're going to say it again and again. So 3, oh, call that 4, doesn't matter. I can right click to delete it. I can then grab it again. Place that and do 3. And then this one, 4. 5. 6. 7. And 8. And that's me grabbed a few of those smaller branches. So what I can do now is I can hold down Control and click on each one, and what's going to happen, it's going to pick going to pick them at random. That was not very random for that first few there. Took a while to randomize itself. So I'll just do Control Backspace. Right, and then I can bring in the new colors. I can do the auto random. And now we're getting completely random stuff. I'm just holding down Shift. Shift will shuffle and give you loads of stuff, and then as you draw, so you can do the flip X, the size range, and I'll just leave rotation range off. Now you get lots of these. Okay, so it gives you an idea of how these brushes are made and how you can use them. Ideally, you kind of want to just export each brush separately, then bring them in one by one, but it's nice to be able to rip stuff out of an image that you like. So these ones, can't really fit them all in, but put that one down. Just make sure you reset anything here, no size range. Okay, and then, so I want that one. Let's just put that there. Make it easier for me to then grab these three. Can't quite do it. Alright, let's just do these three first. So grab that and call it new branch 9. Open, and then back to this. You see, I've been grabbing the wrong ones. I should have been grabbing these ones. I've been grabbing the older ones. They've got the black background in them. Again, I can just take that away, but there's a tiny bit of an outline from that with the black background, so that's a bit of a thing to avoid. So I'll just do Control Backspace to clear that, and then I'll let's bring that back so I can see which ones. So it's 9, 10, 11. Just right click them. Go back to, so I'm going to get rid of that one so I don't get confused. Back to this one. Now let's try that again. Now they fit a bit better. Right. So let's go for the big one first. New branch 9. Make sure I'm on the original colour. If I'm on this, then I'm going to be picking, well, it's okay, it's already been put down correctly, so no to worry. New branch 9. Okay, so it still thinks 9 is in, a 9 is up there. Let's put it there. Okay, so call that 10. I was worried that it kind of already knew that brush had existed, but when you delete them, it deletes the memory of them as well, so it's fine. 11, and finally 12. Okay, and then Control Backspace. Now we've got even more branches. So if I bring this to the new colours, let's just right click to make everything brown, and I'll click that down. Right, I'm going to take away the colour range as well, so I'll put that down, and then I'm going to change colour 1 a bit more yellow there, and I can choose how much of that I want. So even with nothing, it's going to give me this base colour, right? But then I bring in a bit of the blue tones. Right, and most of it is blue, so we're going to get a mix between these two really, and that can be good if you just want a bit of variation. If I did auto random and locked these at 0, then it's going to be a mix between these two tones, like that. Right, which is kind of common when you're using Photoshop and stuff, but this does more. It gives you access to the channels, the red and the green and the blue channels, which are swapped out with new colours, as you can see there. And you can do that sort of thing, and then we can do auto random for anything that's not locked. So if I keep the green locked, you get that sort of thing, right? So now you can build up like a tree, build up a tree quite easily, or some sort of shrub, by choosing different branches. Because they all use the same system, you see this auto random still on. So I want to undo that. I want to keep everything the same tone, so I'll just leave those tones there. I'm just using E and R to rotate, and I can also press X to flip, and then I can use the bracket keys to reduce the scale, or if I press spacebar, I actually have a quicker way to get to rotation and things, which is kind of nice. I'm just building up an image. This is all potentially done with the mouse. I'm using a tablet because it's easier, but it's definitely not kind of needed. Because I've got quite a few branches here, this is going to look quite unique by the time I'm done. Now maybe I want to change that brown, but I don't want to lose this range. So if I look at this, it says plot color holder, left mouse button get, right mouse button set, middle mouse button reset. So if I click the right mouse button, I can actually store these tones. And what I want to do is change the brown to this green up here. So I can, with that selected, I'll just do Alt and click, and now I've got a colour that matches that a bit better. Right, I can use that in various places, kind of like the new branches. Let's just scale that down a bit. And press X every now and again just to flip this around. Let's get a little tiny bit there. And these ones don't really work this style. Maybe that one's kind of cool. Up here, let's make it a bit bigger. Alright, there we go. So there's a brand new branch. And what we can actually do is turn that back to some sort of primary colours. If you do preview, it will basically change all the color swaps to all of this, so everything's getting this, and I can left click any of these and it will swap them out to different ones. And if I press F5, it's going to swap to these tones, so all I have to do is just make sure it gets all of those and do auto update fact to preview so that everything gets that. And it's kind of like a different way of getting that. Now that should actually be magenta, so that it's additive, and then that would be white. Right, it's going to be a bit closer to what we want. Bit of an older revision, left those older colours there, but this is kind of what we want, so we can still swap the colours out. And then I say bake, and now I grab this. This is now a new branch. Let's call it test. Right, and I'll just do control backspace, get rid of all those plots, and now if I do like brown and swap all those colours in, we've got these nice browns. You can choose any one of these, you can even choose the other ones, but I quite like this. I'll scale it down. Let's change the sky to something more nighttime-ish, and then because we've got a kind of bluish tone here, I want this to also be kind of bluish. So, so what I'll do is I'll just start to kind of bring these towards cooler tones. Could cool them down a bit. Yeah. And even darker there. Yeah, there we go. It is really dark, but now I can build up an even bigger tree. Flip that around, scale it down, make it a bit darker in places, take away some of these tones, even do the lock these two and unlock those and do auto random. So every time I click, sorry it's so dark, but it's nighttime. Let's make it a bit easy to see. Bit of ground fog. You can try different colours any point in time. Right, and every time I click this down, I'm going to get slight variation. You see how it's changing some of these tones. I'm making this really interesting looking tree, and I can also change the width and height sort of aspect ratio of this to get even more variation. Change the brush size and rotate it. Right, and let's add some leaves. So I do have an image of leaves. So I want to go back in here because when I was exporting I had the background enabled, thinking it would nicely remove this black, but because there's some soft pixels at the end there, it struggled to get rid of them. So I'll just do it with transparency. I do have a few sort of leafy ones that I made. Yeah, this one. So I'll just export that out as 5 again. Go back in here and I've already got all these branches. I can right click to get rid of that slot and then go and find 5, like that in. And if I want to just work on a different layer, I can just hide that one and go up to like layer 20 for example, and now I can kind of choose which one I like. I like these bottom ones here, so I'll just plot that down. Right, and then I can start grabbing, and everything is RGB. I don't think that's additive mode though, so that's going to look interesting. It's going to replace some parts by the looks of it, but it's fine. So I'll just grab this and call it new leaves. Just copy that because I'm going to do it again. There's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Right, so now I've got that. I've got these here. I'll just do an undo to take away that last plot. I'll bring back layer 10, and now I'll go to layer 11. So I'm just a layer above. I can also double tap. Doesn't work so well with the tablet, but let's call this branches. Yeah, I'm just going to do it with the mouse, and I call that leaves. Right, so I'm in the leaves layer because it's highlighted. I don't want to draw with blue, but I do want to like control click these so I get random ones. So you see every time I click, it's kind of flipping through anyone at random. And now I want to bring in the new colors. I'm going to pick these ones. I'll get these nice color leaves. There's these fiery ones. And we could do some auto random actually as well. Let's just test that. Yeah, that's getting some interesting mixes here. Keep that as a base. That's quite nice. So you see what's happening. It's losing some of that tone every now and again, and sometimes it loses that tone, and you can see exactly what it would do. So some of these were blue. If I go back to that, you see they were blue, and so on. Right, so I'll do a bit of size range and a tiny bit of rotation range. Make these quite small, and just start plotting them down. Let's bring that auto random back in. Don't cover it all up, leave a few branches to be seen. And we get some really interesting variation in tone very quickly. This little tree here. That looks pretty cool. There is some other brushes that I can add, like let's just put some behind here. Actually, I want to make these a bit brighter behind, as if the sunlight's kind of catching the back of them a bit more. Really make those bright, and yeah, I'll keep those. I'll just make it random between those three. You see, I can put some at the back there. And that'll give it a nice little kind of bit of rim at the edges. Right, and then go back to the foreground, well, the other side of the branches, and let's really ramp some of these up. And let's just do a random amount, see what we would get. So clicking this button gives you an idea what you're going to get, and that's pretty cool. And I just want to rotate it a slight bit that way, and just put a few in there. So it's jumping between the brushes, and it's also doing some rotational range. We can also have it flipping, so it will also flip horizontally. So we get all sorts of nice stuff from that, and that can become the start of a tree. There is some other brushes, like I was going to say, there's some branches in here from the base pack. Let's see, we've got some tree trunks, and what I want to do is just get some dark tones in here that match that a bit better. I want a kind of bendy one. Yeah, this one's good. So I'm going to flip that way, turn off the random stuff so I know exactly what I'm going to get, scale that up, and I'm just going to alt click a few of these tones, just a few tones of the branch, so that this starts to match a bit better. And I'm going to change the scale so there's a nice long branch like that, and there we go, that kind of completes the tree. I want to put some of the leaves at the bottom, so I'll go back to the new leaves. Any one of these will do. Scale that up, and I'm just going to press tab. Pressing tab does a little bit of colour picking based on the brush size. So the bigger the brush size, the wider that range. See that square that appears down here? That's the range of that tab. You see it sort of flash up. Right, so that's going to give me colour picks based on that, and they're pretty good. Right now I want to flatten it, so I'll just bring this Y scale down a bit, and then I can get some like leaves on the ground. So I can control click a few of these, right, and I'll just unlock that one. So they're all unlocked. It's going to do auto random, and it's going to be flat. And we're going to plop a few down. Let's do random X as well. And it's just like a way of putting some of these on the ground. Right, I can tilt it up a bit and actually make it so that it only gives me, lock all these, it's only going to give me this tone, right, but it's going to be random tones, random amounts of opacity. So it's a good way to get random opacity from this. Right, I want to make that even brighter. There we go. And we've got a little autumn tree. So now what I can do is I can grab the whole thing and call it autumn tree. Now all of this you can do in the free version as well. There's nothing really to stop you doing that. So now I just want to reset all the sliders and bring that back to original color. So that's the color that it captured everything. And now if I take those colors, you can see it's mostly red tone, so it's mostly going to be the red tone that drives the change here. But I can get some interesting tones from that one. Let's just turn off the random flip. So if I put this brush down, let's just put in layer 12. And I can do auto update, which means anything I change here is going to change the other one. So anything that was blue in this one, which is not very much, is going to change to this color. You can see with the auto update, nothing much happened. There's some blue in this because it's a mix of red, green and blue. And then anything that was red, which is quite a lot of it, we can change to a completely different color. You get some interesting colour palettes, and anything that was green. We can try some things to get a look and feel that we like. Cool, and I quite like that. So we've already captured that tree. It's stored here under Autumn Tree. You can see if I turn off preview colours, you can see the original colour, and this is going to preview the new colours. Okay, so you can see with that palette. Alright, so that's just a way of previewing the sprites down here. And then control backspace, clear everything. You now have this brush, right? And the cool thing I can do now is I'll scale it right up. In fact, I'll just reset the scale by right clicking one of these. That's scale 1. It's a comfortable amount. Doesn't matter too much, so I'll just click that down. And I'm going to change the sky to black, right? I'll just right click there and I'll change both skies to black. I'm going to change this pixel mode just to the right. I'm going to bring down the grid so we can see that, and turn off that show grid as well. That's the pixel grid. And we've got this nice Commodore 64 palette here, plus the pixel ratio, and we can play with the dither range and any different blending modes. See what kind of looks the nicest. You can also switch to the extended Commodore 64 mode, different dither ranges and different blend modes. See if there's something that we like. And there's a whole range of palettes in here, so all you have to do is click override palette and start to go through and see what the closest match is. So like this is a Game Boy, the original Game Boy, and it's doing its best to match the tones with its limited palette. You can keep going and try different ones. There's a sort of a teletext one, and we got spectrum in there as well. You can change the pixel ratios and the dither range, get that real old school look. This one, there's a few like nice palettes. Like one of the palettes is really nice. I think it's one of my custom ones, the RR1. If I take away the dither range like that and crunch that down, then you can see that starts to look quite nice, right? And I'm actually going to update the colors again. So if I do preview again, anything I change here is going to change the color of that, and I can try a few ideas out here. Quite like the blues, quite like those blues, and the brown base can become even white or darker or browner or green. This red looks quite nice. If you're happy with that, just click bake. That's stored those colours into any brush in that layer, so all the brushes. You can also do preview and then play with the blurriness to help blur it out a bit. That will help alleviate some of the noise. And you can play with the cutout amount as well. That'll make it a little bit more cartoonish at the edges. And then just click bake, and you got like a new brush, and it also affects the brush. These settings affect the current brush, and I can plot more down just by clicking and scale them up, make them in the foreground and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. So this is considered the workflow for the free version. The only difference with the paid version is you get to save the raw file, and you can also export the images. But the free version will let you create these brushes, and you can actually find these when you first launch the software. It will ask you where to store these brushes, and these are all actual PNG files. So for example, if I go ahead and find that folder, so backdrop designer and custom brushes, you can see, well, it must be stored somewhere else. They should be in a folder related to this, so I think I might have moved them. Okay, interesting. So I've decided to move them somewhere else, and that's going to throw me off a bit. Normally I put them in here, custom UIs, backdrop designer, custom brushes. Okay, interesting. Oh, no, not in here. So there's a whole bunch of other places where I've put stuff, and I'm trying to think, how would I know where these are? I suppose I could do a search for autumn tree. Might have something called everything in here. Let's try that again. Oh, but if I do a search for autumn tree, let it find that. It's a bit of an embarrassment. Autumn tree. Let's just check. A-U-T-U-M-N. A-U-T-U-M-N. I think that's how you spell autumn. We'll see if it can find it. It's unusual for me to store those images anywhere else, but I've been messing around with it so much. Right, let that find that. So as you can see, you still have the original tree. All you have to do is just turn these back to normal, all of this, and we've got that same tree back. Scale that up, and everything just works with the pixels. We can change this back to any mode, any palette. We can also change the sky back to something, maybe a bit of dither range again. We get something quite old school looking. So there's a whole lot of brushes in here that you can use. My favourite one to use is under set 5, the square. This will give you, let me just switch that back here so you can see, this will give you access to different gradients. So if I take all these away, I bring black in, everything's solid. If I bring blue in, it's just something at the corner. If I bring red in, it's from the bottom, and green in's from the middle. So I'll use the green one, and I'll just right click any colour and then bring that in like that. If I go behind here, now I can make a tint for the sky, so I'll just make this scaled quite wide and then scale it up a good bit. If your slider's maxed out here, you can still use the bracket keys to make it even bigger. Right, and if I bring pixel mode back, I've kind of brightened the background. Let's change that dither image to the one that I like best, like this one. And that's a nice palette, nice and bright. I can brighten that up and even add little flowers in the foreground. Right click to make them all yellow. Do some random rotation and flipping and put in some little flowers in the foreground like that. Okay, so let's see if it's found that file. It'd be interesting to know. There we go. So it's there. Open file location. Where have I put this folder? Backdrop designer BKJD files. I don't normally do that. Normally I have it in a folder called custom brushes. But as you can see in here, we've got our autumn tree there. That's an old one actually. It's an older one. So that's a different file. So, and it wasn't actually, they're not actually in here. There should be a whole lot of other ones, so that's an older folder. Anyway, when you launch the program, you'll be able to find that is, in fact, I know where to go. The folder that I used to launch has, I'm pretty sure has, if you actually go to app data, I've kind of gone off on a tangent here, but if you type in %app data %, and then go into let's go back one, let's go local, backdrop designer, the one that you ran. In this case it's a slightly older one. You can see a whole bunch of files in here, especially like autosaves. But there's also one down at the bottom called paths, and it tells me what the brushes are. And I've put them in such a weird place. Right, okay, now I can find them. So now if I put that path in, there they are. There's all the brushes, and there's the autumn tree. It's got transparency, so you can use that anywhere. For example, if I go back up in here and open it in here, let's just do quick access, autumn tree. There you go. Looks very nice, and you can use that in your games and stuff. You can do whatever you want to in here. Let's scale it down. We check out the size. Image size is, it's quite big, but it's, you know, good size for a game. You might want about 600, and if you do bilinear, it will help smooth out some of the noise at the edges. And of course you can use Control U to shift the hue in here and get even more variety out of that, or colorize. Get some nice interesting tones and things. Yeah, so that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you enjoy using Backdrop Designer for making cool artwork like this, and mess around with all the buttons to see what everything does. Don't be afraid of it. Certain things only work in certain modes. It does say C64 mode there. If this is all very small for you, get a bigger monitor is all I can say, because I've got a nice big monitor and I can read all this perfectly. I tried to cram everything into this UI, and I've been using this tool for loads of like old school art now, and I'm enjoying it. I would say that because it's mine, but I think you'll like it. There's a few little quirky features, like if you're using additive blending with anything, where it adds the colours on top, gives you that kind of bloom effect. This will begin to flash, and that's because it's not very good at blending these with a merge or anything, and it's basically asking you now to capture that image. So it's captured the whole image, and that's now your new starting point, so be careful with that. Now what I do is I capture the image, throw it into a layer, so plot it down, go to layer 19 and just click this little one here, right? And you can actually, in fact, undo those plots you made, right? Then plot that down. Right, now you've got control of that itself as a layer on its own, right? But it's going to overwrite anything, like if you change the background, everything on that layer is going to come through. I will look at introducing some sort of masking mode later, or making this just improved, but it's been tricky trying to get it to work right, and I'm quite happy with it for now anyway. So enjoy messing around with it, see what you can make. There's a Discord channel which will be in the link in the video, or the link on the store page where you can buy this, and buying it helps me make more improvements because it shows that people are actually interested in supporting it. And if you do want to mess around, there is a free demo which will let you do most of the things, if not everything that I've showed you. The only differences are you can't export different sizes, you can't export the images in demo mode, and you can't save the files. You can just copy the screen, and you can like grab, if you grab something, it will also capture it. It won't capture it in pixel mode is the other thing, so it's a good idea to I think I grabbed that there. Let's just try that again. That didn't work. Test. Right, I should yeah, there we go. Oh, that one was completely transparent for some reason. But yeah, there we go, that's there. But you see it doesn't have really the proper pixel mode. So if you did want to export it, you would be using export image, which is a paid version thing. So you get to tinker around with it to a degree, just not the pixel mode stuff really. You can play around with it to see how it looks, but the only way to capture it is to actually print the screen or copy your screen, which is maybe good enough. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.